Hey fellow Trek Chatters, I'm Pit Trekkie and welcome to another episode of Pittsburgh's Trek Chat. So a few days ago, New York Comic Con occurred. Obviously due to the COVID virus, it happened virtually. So Alex Kurtzman came on, there were some interviews with the Discovery cast, with the Lower Decks cast, and then at the end, they had a very small discussion with the co-creators of Star Trek Prodigy, and they had a little bit of a surprise guest who came in at the very end, and it was Kate Mulgrew herself. And she announced that her character of Captain Janeway from Voyager is going to be returning for Star Trek Prodigy. So obviously this took the whole internet by storm, because I don't know anybody who doesn't love Kate Mulgrew or love Captain Janeway. So seeing the character being able to return is going to be a wonderful experience for all of us as fans. It'll be very interesting to see what Captain Janeway's been up to since we last saw her in Star Trek Nemesis. So basically what Kate Mulgrew said was at first when she was offered the chance about a year ago to reprise Janeway on Star Trek Prodigy, she wasn't really sure exactly whether or not she would take the role at all. She put a lot of time into playing Captain Janeway for 7 years, and was there anything left that could really be done with the character? But here's what she ended up saying. She said, quote, "I have invested every scintilla of my being in Captain Janeway, and I can't wait to endow her with nuance that I never did before in Star Trek Prodigy. How thrilling to be able to introduce to these young minds an idea that has elevated the world for decades. To be at the helm, again, is going to be deeply gratifying in a new way for me," end quote. So I think a lot of what she was talking about, as she talked a little bit, she talked about how back in the 90s, when she started playing Captain Janeway, she was a first for Star Trek, as she played Star Trek's first female lead, female captain. Okay, we'd seen I believe one or two other Starfleet captains that were female before that time. I believe we saw the captain of the Saratoga in Star Trek IV, Twyla Scott in the episode of Next Generation, Conspiracy. So really we didn't see a whole lot of female captains, but this was the first time that we actually saw one as a regular. So that was a big deal for women back at that time. You know, and I think for the way she was talking, it looked as though she finally got to the point where she said, if I was able to be a first for females as a Star Trek captain, this show will give me a chance to be the first children's captain, I believe is the way she worded it. So she's kind of looking at it as, I helped reach these women back in the 90s, now maybe I can make a difference with children when I bring this character back. So that's going to be very exciting to see how Captain Janeway kind of fits into this role again. And Alex Kurtzman seems pretty excited about about Captain Janeway returning as well. According to what he said in the interview, he said, Captain Janeway was held to a different standard than her predecessors. She was asked to embody an inhuman level of perfection in order to be accepted as good enough by the doubters, but showed them all what it meant to be truly outstanding. We can think of no better captain to inspire the next generation of dreamers on Nickelodeon than she, end quote. So this is going to be very exciting, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the Prodigy co-creators, Kevin and Dan Hageman, are going to bring to this role. So what I'm interested in is really, we don't really know what's happened to Janeway since she came home from the Delta Quadrant all those years ago. All we did was know that after Voyager ended, she was promoted to Admiral, and we saw her briefly in Star Trek Nemesis ordering Captain Picard and the Enterprise E to Romulus to meet with Shinzon. Boom! That's all we know at this point. Other than that, we got this whole open playing field now, and we don't even know what year Star Trek Prodigy is going to be taking place in. All we know is it's clearly going to be the 24th century or very early 25th, you know, based on Star Trek Picard. Who knows? So it's going to be very interesting to see what she's been up to. Now, the one thing that I have kind of thought about Star Trek Prodigy. The premise of Star Trek Prodigy kind of bothered me when I first heard about it. Not that it's animated. I have no problem with there being an animated series at all. But according to the CBS press release, Star Trek Prodigy follows a group of lawless teens who discover a derelict Starfleet ship and use it in search for adventure, meaning, and salvation. Okay, I think that's great about them going off on adventures, finding meaning, finding salvation. That's part of being youngsters, is trying to find who you are, what your purpose is in life. I guess what I'm concerned about is a Star Trek show. Star Trek's always meant to be positive, and we got a group of lawless teens that the show is going to be centered around. Now, I am not saying that I don't want to watch this show or that the show is going to suck. I'm not going to go out there and say I haven't watched it yet, so I don't know what the show is going to be like. But my thought on the name Star Trek Prodigy, it should have been something a little different than that. I mean, because how's Janeway going to really fit into this story? I mean, I can't imagine Starfleet's going to be really happy about, even if it's a derelict ship, that a bunch of random teenagers that have bad track records are going to take this ship and go gallivanting across the Alpha Quadrant. I can't see that they would be very happy about that. And I can't believe that if that got back to Starfleet, Janeway would be like, ooh, let me go and find them, and then as soon as I find them, I'm not going to arrest them, I'm just going to go off on adventures with them so that they can become better people. I don't know, it just doesn't, maybe it could be, I don't know, but it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me that would make sense. For me, the fact that the show has the name Prodigy would make me feel like this would be better as a Starfleet Academy show. Finally getting a Starfleet Academy show. You want to reach kids, you want to reach teenagers? Get a group of young 18-year-olds that are freshmen in Starfleet Academy and get them together, have a group of them. And, you know, maybe have this group of cadets to have that one standout, that prodigy that they're saying about in the show. You know, and then have Janeway be their mentor. Have them go on an Academy ship. In Star Trek II, the Enterprise was an Academy ship that Spock commanded. Why can't we have Janeway commanding another ship, you know, and have them going off on adventures together, learning what it means to be Starfleet officers? That, to me, would make more sense. Oh, there goes my figure. Okay, that makes a lot more sense to me than actually having just some group of misfits. But again, I haven't seen the show yet. We don't know what's actually going to come out of it. Are they going to tweak it a little bit? Who knows? But it's going to be very interesting. And I do believe with Captain Janeway involved in somehow that this crew, these teenagers are going to make a good turn in their lives. That's what I'm really hoping for at this point. She mentored her crew for 7 years. She got them through the Delta Quadrant. Why can't she help these people out? Plus, we've seen Captain Janeway kind of taking on the underdog before. In the 6th season episode of Voyager, Good Shepherd, she took 4 lower decks characters, as you can say, under her wing and went on a mission with them. Okay, so she has the ability to be the role model for these people. And that'll be very interesting to watch as the show goes on. One thing I'm kind of questioning, though, is this a continuity error? Janeway was obviously an admiral when we last saw her in Star Trek Nemesis, but she's being referred to as Captain Janeway in this interview with Kate Mulgrew and Kurtzman and the Hageman brothers. I guess they're brothers. So I'm wondering, did she get demoted? Did she want to just be back as captain again, or are they just calling her Captain Janeway because that's just what they're used to, and we'll probably still see her as an admiral anyway? Who knows? I'm hoping in the next couple months we'll get some sort of answer, because apparently the show is slated to air on Nickelodeon in 2021. What I am really hoping is that this show is going to set a very good example for today's youth. That has been a big thing about Star Trek over its 54-year span, for the most part. I'll say again, for the most part. I think Star Trek has always set a good example for our youth. It talked about humanity coming together and putting aside prejudices and working towards common causes. Then they start working with other people who aren't like them, with alien races. And then they go out and they explore space together, and they create a federation where they're, you know, everybody is getting along and working under the same laws. And That's an amazing thing. And you see these smart, intelligent people on the bridge. It doesn't matter what gender, what race, what sexual interest, it doesn't matter. Everybody is equal. And everybody, they're good people working hard to explore space. It's been a little bit more shaky with some of the later Star Trek stuff that's going on, but I'm not here to bash new Star Trek or anything like that. That's not my point. My point is that overall Star Trek set a good example and has set good role models for our youth. Look at all these people that became adults and have said over the years that they became doctors or scientists or security officers or military people or some sort of leaders because of the characters that they've seen in Star Trek. And that's what I'm really hoping that this show is going to do, is that it's going to show these kids having a turnaround in their lives and become something and see that they're worth something despite whatever circumstances they came from. And I, as a therapist who's primarily worked with child and adolescent in the last 17 years, our kids that I see in our society nowadays need this. There are so many kids nowadays that come from single parent households or parents that are using drugs or, just some horrible situations. Not that single parents are bad, I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is that they come from harder situations and they don't have certain people to look up to, like the fathers are being absent, or even the mothers are being absent. That's what I mean by single parent households, is you got somebody, there's an issue going on, all right? And I really, really hope that this show can set a good example for how people can come from rough situations, but rise above that and become better than what they've been dealt. And because in the end, we have to count ourselves. Yes, many of us may have come from bad situations, but it doesn't mean that we can't excel and rise above that. So fingers crossed that that's what we're going to get in Star Trek Prodigy. So overall, those are my basic thoughts about about Kate Mulgrew coming back as Captain Janeway. I am so excited to see her in Star Trek Prodigy. That's one thing I've really loved about Lower Decks, is that we got to see Riker and Troy come back here in the last few days, see what they've been up to. We saw them again in Star Trek Picard, see what they've been up to, see what Captain Picard himself has been up to since he left the Enterprise E. So now we get to see a little bit of what's been going on with Janeway. So I'm very excited about this. I'm hoping for the best for this, and that it's going to be something that's really meaningful to our children. So please comment down below. I want to hear what your thoughts are about Star Trek Prodigy and Captain Janeway joining the cast. Please click the bell, subscribe to the channel. You can find coming to this channel. You just type in Pittsburgh's Trek Chat in the search on YouTube. It'll take you directly to my channel. You can follow the show on Facebook at facebook.com/Pittsburgh's Trek Chat. You can also follow the show on Twitter at PGH Trek Chat. I'm looking forward to the next episode. Until then, may yins live long and prosper.